One is the report from the Regulatory Performance Committee, draft dangerous and insanitary buildings policy. David.
I was away for this, so I'll defer to Jamie, who chaired the meeting while I was away.
The floor is yours.
Thanks, David. Well, I'll take it as read, but it's essentially we're essentially passing to go to a special consultative procedure around this. But if staff want to add any more, then Judith, you're free to. But otherwise, take it as read.
Very good. Are there any questions? Sarah?
No. Thanks. I'm just trying to find it again from my notes. In the introduction to the policy itself, it mentions 1.3 on page 54 of our agenda. Act also requires to know which are buildings adjacent to, adjoin, or nearby a dangerous building or dam. A dam isn't really mentioned anywhere else within the policy, and I'm just wondering if that part of the policy affects us at all. Do we have any dams? I just don't see it anywhere else in there when it comes to the affected buildings.
That comes from the definition of affected building, and no, the regional council looks after dangerous dams.
Yeah, I just didn't see it in the definition either.
I think it should be.
It was late when I was reading it, so. But when I went down to definitions, I was looking in the definition of building.
Yeah, the definition of affected building in 13, which is on page 59 of the agenda, means a building that is at risk of damage or other impact from a dangerous building or dam that is adjacent to, adjoining or nearby. Actually, you having pointed that out, I've just picked up that there's a spelling mistake there. It should be adjoining, not adjoin in 1.3. But
yeah, okay, thank you. That's it.
Is that it? Yep. Yanni?
I was just wondering at a very high level, if staff could just sort of highlight, based on what we've learned through our earthquake experience and our former policy, what changes we've put in place.
in this policy compared to the old,
well,
the current
given
policy?
that we've been through significant earthquakes and had, you know...
But all the earthquake-prone stuff's been taken out because that's in the legislative framework now, so, but you know that, so you're talking about dangerous and insanitary buildings.
Yeah.
So, and we've got our legal representative at the end of the table, so can you just be a little bit more specific about what you're asking here?
At a high level, obviously the affected buildings is something, I guess, is one key thing that's been picked up. Is there any other things that we've observed over the last, 10 years, for example, or 8 years, that we've put in here or we haven't put in here because we can't?
Yeah, we've got, maybe that's really not a question for our legal advisor. So, I'm not really sure. I'm sort of kind of looking at you, Leonie.
Previously when we've had this policy, I mean, we've had quite a lot of workshops and briefings when we developed it, particularly post-earthquake. We just developed it before the earthquake in September. There was a lot of discussion around things like insurance. Now, I know that this is not the earthquake-prone stuff, but things like insurance actually were a significant issue that was discussed last time because of the way in which we deal with things and what that means for property owners.
Okay, so there's nothing in here that deals with insurance, but if a person has a dangerous or insanitary building that the council's identified and there are insurance issues, that is a matter that the staff dealing with the potential enforcement action would take into consideration in terms of their discretion about what enforcement action they might take. Are there insurance issues? What is the level of dangerousness or insanitary nature of the building? And are there insurance issues that the person is dealing with?
Yeah, okay. And just, I guess just the final, and maybe it's more of the acting chair of that committee, but, to do something about buildings that are as is, whereas, that are clearly causing concern for local people, and, Scarlett factory in Wolfston is a classic, covered in graffiti, broken windows, overgrown grass. Nothing seems to be being done. Is there anything in this policy or any other work that we're doing as an organisation that means that we can be more responsive given the significant increase in those types of buildings because of as-is whereas?
Yeah, I think similar to what we talked about earlier, Yanni, this probably isn't the place for that, but the SCC touched on that. I think it was at yesterday's meeting, and the Development Forum is going to be looking at that, and there are a range of initiatives, carrots and sticks, around that, and we're investigating exactly what you have just said there, but I don't think this is the place for that. Come to the Development Forum on Monday, though, too, because we will be discussing it if you'd like. I may regret saying that.
Yeah, no, it is, because the Development Forum is focused on CBD.
It's the burnt out houses that sit there for 3 months.
Yes, but we want to apply it why
that constantly get vandalised and have arson attacks because they sit there and no action's able to be taken because of our policies.
No, that's a fair point. Judith, can you add any more to that?
Well, as I said in answer to I think all the councillors got the email when I answered about the eyesore buildings. So, you know, at a certain point in time, an eyesore building may well pass the threshold, or there may be enough complaints and evidence that makes it compelling that it's offensive under the Building Act to become an insanitary building, and then we can take some action. But it is quite a high threshold. And
yeah. So, but I mean, I'm getting the sense that there needs to be another regulatory intervention that isn't the dangerous and insanitary buildings one, but another test, which has to go through a proper bylaw process, which is separate from this.
Yes, well, but there's also Resource Management Act and Health Act powers that, I mean, I think some of that stuff has been discussed with you in terms of the barrier sites, buildings issues, the different enforcement options that may be available.
I think that there's just a degree of frustration, as you can hear around the table. We're just reflecting what we hear from the community. People are sick of it. They'd like to see their communities restored to some semblance of order. If not, it's never going to be perfect, but it's we can do better. So, I'm getting the sense that it's not this regulatory framework. This is specifically required under the Buildings Act, and it's something that we're required to do in this format, and we really need to park that issue and deal with it separately. Yeah. All right. So, Jamie, would you like to move that? Yep. David, even though you weren't there, would you like to second it? All right. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you.